When all these pieces come together, not only does your work move towards greatness, but so does your life. For in the end, it is impossible to have a great life unless it is a meaningful life. And it is very difficult to have a meaningful life without meaningful work. Perhaps then you might gain that rare tranquility that comes from knowing you've had a hand in creating something of intrinsic excellence that makes a contribution. Indeed, you might even gain the deepest of all satisfactions, knowing that your short time here on this earth has been well spent and that it mattered. And that's what I've gained through chiropractic.
Everybody, welcome to the Free Yourself podcast. My name is Ryan Janni, and I am naked. And today's guest, we have an incredible friend of mine for a long time now, over a decade. We met in college. This is Dr. Brian May. You can find him on Instagram at Doc May Diet, and his podcast at Doc May Diet on all platforms.
That's right. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud. You got it.
Hell yeah. And I had the amazing pleasure of actually being on Doc May, his podcast. And we talked extensively about nutrition and different practices and health practices. And so if you want to get on that, or if you want to hear that podcast, we'll put a link. Obviously, we're going to put a link to everything for your stuff. But I'm so excited to have you. We talked a little bit before. It's a little bit different than most of my podcasts, because every time I've had any sort of like specialist on, it's usually been a trainer or a nutrition. Well, you are a nutrition expert, but this is different. We have a doctor of chiropractor. How do you say that?
Chiropractic. I'm a D.C. Doctor of Chiropractic.
Hell yeah, man. And I reached out to him recently because I have never gone to the chiropractor. I've never had an adjustment done. And I wanted to know what the process was like and what he charges and stuff like that. But we're going to go through kind of the process of what he does with his patients. And because I've done so much acupuncture and it's helped me immensely. Like I had 3 compressed vertebrae in my lower spine. It's T spine. You explain the spine real quick. So I can tell you where it was.
Neck is cervical, mid back is thoracic, and then low back is lumbar.
Okay, so in my lumbar spine, I had 3 compressed vertebrae, and in my cervical spine, it was probably thoracic. It was probably thoracic because it's right, not my neck. It was more down lower. I had 3 compressed vertebrae there, and through acupuncture, the doctor I went to, this guy, he was a wizard. I swear he's from another planet, but he comes from a line of like 5 generations of Chinese doctors.
Wow.
So like we're talking theoretically, that 5th generation could have been in the 1500s. You know what I mean? Like, right. That's so cool to think about now.
Yeah. And chiropractic actually has a lot of roots in Eastern medicine. So you mentioned like Asia, right? Like Chinese. And when you put up Eastern medicine against Western medicine, oftentimes it does come off as like wizard-like, because Eastern is it's a little bit more esoteric, more whole body, where Western medicine, it's like straight, like textbook by the book, like touch it, feel it, see it, believe it. Like, so when you combine those two after being grown up here in the West and you get Eastern medicine, you're like, whoa, what is this wizardry? So that your experience is common amongst many people who go to alternate practitioners.
It's so cool because I mean, it's magic with a K at the end. Like this is the stuff that it's all with acupuncture. It's about transference of energy. And every time the pin goes in, I feel it sounds like a blow dart. It's like, and I
Yeah.
feel just a little tap,
Mhm.
and then he takes it and he like twists it in, and he hits this spot, and the only way I can describe it is it feels like a blockage of energy has just like if you have a hose
Right.
twisted and you release it and the water flows through it. That's like what it feels like.
Mhm.
And then I would lay there for about 45 minutes with the pins in my back and listen to like 432 hertz, sound healing type stuff and chakra meditations. And I would leave there feeling higher than any freaking weed that I smoked in my entire life, man. Like, oh my, the best feeling I ever had is leaving the doctor there. And
Yeah, man.
it's so incredible. And, I'm not going to say it's short lived, but I went there. First I was going twice a week for the first month. And then I went once a week, for the next 2 months. And it really, like, that also, in accompanied with me correcting my form with my squat, like,
Yeah, right.
completely, and breathing techniques and form with my deadlift completely, like, changed my back. Like, my lower back is in incredible shape now. It's my upper back that's kind of been bothering me, the thoracic spine, and I'm guessing it has to do with my bench, actually, because you've seen the videos that I have, the arch that I have in my thoracic spine.
Right. Yeah. And when you already have compressed vertebra in there, what are you doing? You're compressing them further. So it makes sense.
Yeah. And I think also it has to do with something of, I'm coming down higher instead of a little bit, like, you want to come down right to about here with the bench, especially, like, that's the high point when you're doing the arch for powerlifting. And I think it might not even be just that. It could be the angle of my lats when I'm coming down. So I've been working with that with my coach, trying to, like, tweak it. But the only thing that's helping right now is my Theragun type of thing that I have. It's not an actual Theragun. It's literally actually a jigsaw that we attached. I got the attachment, the ball attachments. And I'm like, and of course it's my back. So it's, like, tough to, like, do it myself. So like every now and then I'll be at the gym and I'll ask my coach to, like, hit my traps, and it's always traps and upper lats up there and stuff that needs it.
Yeah.
But so if I'm coming to you, I'm guessing I would be explaining everything that I kind of just did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
right.
Kind of take me through your process. What's the next sort of thing that you would do after I've explained that all of these things that happen to me? Because the big reason why I also wanted to do this is because this is, an alternative medicine to what most people, what is like common in the world. They go to a doctor, they get a medication, and the problem is fixed. Right. Which we both know that's not exactly,
not exactly how it works. Right. Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks, man, for having me on. It's an honor. Our first podcast together was fire. I hope we can, like, get to, like, half of that high point we're on with that podcast. That was amazing. Secondly, chiropractic, if I could just sum it up in one sentence to give you kind of a pre-frame to how this conversation is going to go. As we're talking about chiropractic, we could talk about whatever we want, but if we're talking about that, chiropractic, essentially, the point of it is to alleviate and remove interference from the nervous system, right? So you talked about how when you were getting acupuncture, you felt like something was released, something became unblocked. That's essentially what we're doing in chiropractic. Acupuncture is more with energy systems and meridian flow. As far as I understand it, I'm definitely not an expert in acupuncture. Chiropractic, it's all about the nervous system. The nervous system is the master system, right? Your brain and nervous system, spinal cord control everything, right? So chiropractic is what releases the interference, allows that to work better, and then allows the rest of the body to in turn work better as well. So that out of the way, if you were a patient and you had told me exactly what you told me so far, I mean, my next logical question would be, do you have any radiating pains, any radiating symptoms into the arms, into the legs?
So pain that's like shooting from there to my arms and stuff like that?
Yeah.
No. So that other than like what my pain feels like, it's more of like the muscles are tight and pulling on that area right around the traps and stuff. So whatever my traps are touching, it feels like, you know, this is over exaggerated how it should be like this. It feels like it's being pulled back. You know what I mean? So I'm always doing like the neck and see, I got a nice crack there. I'm always doing that. And you know how like on a door frame, it has the corner. I'll dig my upper back in there and just roll up and down on it like a foam roller and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, I mean, to fast forward a little bit, obviously I'd ask you a few more questions. We'd work on some goal setting. I would, you know, ask you about your previous history, any other car. I mean, do you have, I mean, how, let's actually, previous history. How did your vertebra in the thoracic spine become compressed to begin with?
Squatting with terrible form. And so obviously it wasn't terrible. I've gotten, you know, I squatted 465 with that form, right? But what was happening, I was squatting, and the whole point of a belt, like a weightlifting belt, I'm guessing you know, but for most people watching this, they might not know. It's not to tie it as tight as you possibly can, and that's what's going to save your back. It's actually a breathing tool. And what you're supposed to do is, and now I've got my whole, starting at my core, everything filled up with air, but I wasn't doing the last part, which was pushing out against the belt. So I was breathing in, but I wasn't actually bracing. Now, so that in turn means that I was full of air and crushing my spine with the weight underneath me, especially when at the bottom of a squat, with powerlifting, not with perfect form, with powerlifting, you want to hit that hole and get that bounce. That's why you're wearing the knee sleeves and stuff. You get that extra bounce to get you through that hole. Now, I was effectively doing that and just crushing my spine and crushing my spine.
You're bouncing it off your spine.
Yeah, literally. So yeah, that's the big previous history with how it happened and whatnot.
Gotcha. Okay. So after we move you through like some more questions, you know, some basic questions, more pointed questions like the radiation one I already asked you, previous history one I already asked you, we do some goal setting. But then when we get down to the exam, what we're looking for is what's known as a subluxation. So it's not a dislocation, it's a subluxation. So if you could actually give me 1 second, I'm going to grab a model. I'm going to kind of walk you through the exact same thing that we walk through with patients. Okay.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Just got to throw it there. Okay. So once we get to the exam, I'm going to walk you through what exactly we're looking for. So obviously in this office, what we're looking for, we're experts in, is what's known as a subluxation. All right. So subluxation is not a dislocation. It's below that. So basically we have two bones of the spine here, right? Now this model is actually a lumbar vertebra model, which is the lower back, but this applies to mid back, upper back as well. Okay. So normally these bones should be moving all different degrees, all range of motion on top of each other. Two bones make a joint, right? At any point in the body.
Yeah.
And that joint should have whatever range of motion it is designed. If it's an elbow or a knee joint, it's pretty much doing a hinge motion. But obviously vertebra is a little more complex. It has 6 degrees of range of motion. Should be moving freely throughout that. What a subluxation is when these bones get locked up, stuck, fixated, no longer moving the way they should. Okay, this is a problem, A, because these bones are designed to move, but B, more specifically, 90% of information that our brain receives from our body does not actually come from we see, hear, taste, or smell. It comes from the movement of our body. The vast majority of that movement comes from where? It comes from our spine, right? Because everything branches off from there.
Yes.
Makes sense so far?
Absolutely.
So when that subluxation occurs, basically it's creating inflammation on these nerves. See these nerves right there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do those nerves go to? Well, a lot of them go up to the brain. So now the brain is essentially receiving bad information. It's receiving garbage. When it's garbage in, it's garbage out, right? So what the brain does, it recognizes when the subluxation is there, when the bones are stuck, not moving, and it interprets this as an injury, quote unquote.
Yeah.
At any point where there's injury in the body, the brain is going to do what it should do, which is try and protect it, right, from further damage and further harm. But what the brain does in order to do that here is it sends more signals back down to create more spasm, to create a tight muscle, because a tight muscle will create that constriction and won't allow it to move anymore.
Dude, you're blowing my mind right now because you're explaining what I'm feeling perfectly. Like all of it. Oh my God. That's so
what does a
awesome.
tight muscle feel like? Well, it feels like crap. It hurts. It's painful. Is it not?
Yeah. Yeah.
What else
Oh, very.
Is that too? And the other thing about what I could show you right here too is the spinal discs, right? We have the jelly donut. There's a jelly in the middle right there. Okay. The spinal discs, especially in the lumbar spine, they're completely dependent on the bone above it and the bone below it to move, to pump it with that fluid. Guess what? If that subluxation is there and those bones aren't moving, the disc, because it's living tissue, will break down and decay just like any other living tissue in the body doesn't receive nutrients. So that's why we're going to look for the subluxations to see where those bones aren't moving. Where is that inflammation coming from? Where are those discs breaking down? And then here's the final aspect of this model. These nerves, like I mentioned, some of them go up to the brain. Well, guess what? Some of these nerves go into our internal organs. So we ask you questions along the way with that as well. Oftentimes, if people have a pain in the neck, they're going to have headaches, yeah, because guess what? Those nerves go into the head. But they're also going to have dizziness, balance, sinus issues. In the thoracic spine, what we see is heartburn, indigestion up to the stomach, heart issues. In the lower intestine, the lower spine, we see lower intestinal issues like IBS, bloating, diarrhea, constipation. We even see reproductive disorders in females, like heavy periods, irregular periods, painful periods. Now, we don't claim to treat those conditions because we don't treat those conditions. What we do, however, is we treat the spine, remove the interference from the nervous system, as I mentioned earlier, and allow the body to heal itself because the nervous system is the master system.
Dude.
So that's what we're looking for.
All right. So absolutely, when I get the most relief is when I do this yoga move where it ends in a sun salutation, but it's I'm fully you do the like fully bend over, all loose, knees a little bit bent. Then I grab onto my toes and I breathe in, fill my core up, and I feel my lower back, I feel my upper back separating. And then as I pull down, I'm keeping that tension and then breathing out as I pull down, and I'm feeling just all through my freaking, especially my upper back. So definitely I can feel that in my thoracic spine, especially, that there is that subluxation. And so the other thing with my lower back, sometimes I'll feel that.
Can I pause you there, actually?
Yeah.
So when you feel that pop, right, it feels good because you do have a subluxation there. But the caveat to that is just popping it isn't really fixing anything. It'll feel good in the short term. But like I mentioned, there is a whole bunch of different ways these bones can move, right? There's 728 different ways a bone can subluxate based off the 6 degrees of range of motion. We have the x-axis, we have the y-axis, we have the z-axis. It can rotate, it can translate, it can move up and down. So there's so many different ways. So in order to actually get that subluxation corrected, it needs to be adjusted specifically. Now, you can, do the old fashioned party trick where you pick somebody up and pop them and boom, it's going to feel better for a short period of time.
Yeah.
But this is why you actually need to have x-rays and palpation and see exactly which way it's subluxated to actually get it corrected, as opposed to just popping it. Does that make sense?
I think so. Now that I've learned the what this means, I can tell you that probably my entire spine is like
man, given the videos I see you post on Instagram with all that weight you're lifting, yeah.
Dude, like I'm sitting here like, okay, when I do so I get down in that plank position and then I bring my left leg up to my hands and then left arm like this.
Yeah.
And I bring it back. Every time I do that, without fail, I get a nice little 2 cracks in my lower back.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me some relief. Then
and go ahead and keep doing it. Obviously, whatever gets mobile, that's fine. That's fine.
Exactly. This is just like more proof that like I need to come see. You know what I mean?
And I'll tell you,
I only get the temporary relief. I
know. And you know what, Ryan? I see a lot of old power lifters, man. And there's a reason that I, as a chiropractor, see a lot of old power lifters.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, true, if I had to rank it, I mean, they're up there. Some of the other worst spines I see, honestly, servers, hostesses, they're on their feet all day long.
Yeah.
Nurses, they're up there, they're top 3, and hairdressers and they're hairstylists, essentially. Anything that's going to have you on your feet all day long like that, yeah, it's going to wear that spine down faster.
So let me ask you now. So everything you do is dealing with just the spine, or do you go out into other joints and stuff and do adjustments there too?
Oh, no, I adjust. I mean, I don't adjust every bone in the body. I won't claim that, but some other common ones besides the spine, obviously, would be hands, wrists, thumbs, elbows, scapula, shoulder. We do a lot of shoulders, obviously, a lot of talus and calcaneus joint, the talocalcaneal joint, the ankle.
Okay.
Because if you're not getting the proper dorsiflexion, you're going to have a knee issue, which is going to cause a hip issue, which is going to cause a low back issue. So we treat the body from head to toe. And then after that, the other biggest one would be the jaw, that as an extremity joint. That we have people coming to us all the time just for that. And then throughout the process of the exam, we do find out that they have a neck issue, they're having headaches. So it's all correlated, but we have a lot of people that come to us initially just for jaw pain relief.
Man. So every joint in my body cracks and
yeah, even ribs.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean like I don't know if you just heard me I crack
Yep.
This both ways. For my toes, same thing. I can grab my toe and separate them apart this way and they crack. Like my ankles have always just, when I rotate them, they crack. Wrists, not so much. Well,
hey man, you're pushing your body to the extreme daily. So you're pushing your ligaments, you're pushing your tendons, your joints, your cartilage. That's why it's important you do the things you do, like take collagen, protein, and take care of your body.
Hell yeah, man. When I found out that like through meditation, like Dr. Joe Dispenza has like taught hundreds of thousands of people how to heal themselves through meditation. And I just got his book, Becoming Supernatural. I'm really pumped to really dive into that. But there's just forget about like what he did, where he actually had a broken back and meditated and avoided surgery and healed himself that way. I know it sounds incredibly like otherworldly, but like that's his story. And he's shown plenty of people where, that have gotten rid of cancer in the body and things like that. And it's like I'm hesitating to say it because of how incredible it is. It's like it sounds like it's not real, but and then I love when people like to tell me that he's his doctorate is he's a chiropractor. Like and so then I have my trust the science people that are like he got his doctorate, but he's not even like a medical doctor. And like, what about all his neuroscience and all that? He's not a neuroscientist. What does he know? And it's like, you're missing the point. Like, no matter what, whether he didn't have any of a doctorate or any of this stuff.
Right. The fact that he had that personal story.
Yeah. And he has the studies to back it. Yeah. So it's like, I don't care who the person is. If the study was conducted and it's showing results,
yeah. And there, you know what? There's a time and place to argue credentials. There's a time and place to argue research. There's hierarchy to research too. You know, like there's a pyramid you got to follow. Like obviously, like personal experience is at the tip, or is at the tip of that. Like that's not really the greatest, but it's not to be completely thrown out.
Yeah.
And to that point about how his mind just heals his body. I mean, there's really three causes of diseases, the three T's. There's the ones we all know about, which are traumas, whether that's a big macro trauma, like a car accident, a lifting injury, a sports injury, something crazy. There's the micro traumas, which is chronic poor posture, desk job, sitting at your desk, things like that. The other T is toxins, and that's diet. And we talk all about that, inflammatory diet, and what is it promoting inflammation, and what is anti-inflammatory. And the third T that causes dis-ease, and this is straight from the old-fashioned chiropractic textbooks, are thoughts. So what are your thoughts? What are your mental vibrations? So the three T's, thoughts, traumas, toxins, that cause a dis-ease. And it sounds like this guy really dove into that thoughts wing of the disease pyramid.
Yeah, because if our thoughts can create disease, dis-ease,
they can help heal.
They can obviously help heal.
And even if you say, okay, that's crazy, I'm never going to heal my sciatica, I'm never going to heal my X disease through my thoughts alone. Okay, yeah, maybe you won't, but the fact that somebody was able to completely means that if you do it, you could at least help yourself a little bit. And if you can, why not?
And if you say you can't, you're right.
Yes.
If you say you can,
you're right.
You're right. Like it's as simple as that. It's what's the believe in you're halfway there or something like that. Theodore Roosevelt said freaking in 1920 or whatever. It might even have been his wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, that said it. And it might have been in the 40s, but I don't even know. But it was said by some Roosevelt. And
I think yeah. That's the pull up there. I think FDR. Wasn't he married? Oh, I don't even know, man. We're getting history. Yeah, right? This is not a history podcast.
Either way, it was said, and it's the truth.
Yes, yeah.
Oh man. So this is I love when I get new information and I can literally apply it right away, or at least because what Joe Dispenza talks about is he then, since he was a chiropractor, he knows exactly what you know, like how the spine's supposed to look, all the nerves, all the freaking all the different joints. He knows each individual, vertebrae, all that stuff. So he was able to literally rebuild his spine through meditating, getting to that creative part of the brain and do that. So now that I know about like what a subluxation is and the fact that like the cracking, every now and then or before every workout and all that stuff is helping me, I now know what I can also focus on, like a release of the subluxation in my meditations and stuff. Because I have an acupuncture mat that I lay on. I'm not going to say every morning, but most mornings for about a half hour listening to different meditations. And the key with that is like, I know now a lot more information than I knew before. And now I can apply that. And especially, you know, now I've got his book sitting right there right there. It's like this thick though. And I'm like,
yeah, it's probably pretty heady too.
yeah, like this guy, he's figured out how to, he literally teaches you
because he had the knowledge. He probably, I mean, I'm going to guess he probably visualized the whole entire spine in his head and visualized the proper alignment. And basically the mind can't tell the difference between a real action and a thought, essentially. That's why visualization techniques are so powerful, and why the best athletes, you know, when they're rehabbing, they visualize, because like I just said, the mind can't tell the difference.
Dude, I wish I could pull it up right now, but like he goes through everything from like from the thought to the disease that is caused, and how each thing is formed, and how it goes from like a thought to like a part of our life, to then a part of our personality, to then a part of our trauma that we can't. And he
basically takes a thought as like a preformed embryo, and then takes it through the whole entire process of how it hatches into a real walking.
Yeah, and he takes it that whole way, but then he's like, but this is a good thing that we know this, and then takes you back down to like how you overcome that. And like I've seen him on I think Lewis Howe's podcast, Aubrey Marx's podcast. Like every time I see I can't believe he hasn't been on Rogan yet. Like it blows my mind. But I've seen him on so many different podcasts, and he explains it so perfectly and like simply, so anybody can understand it too. It's not like he's using these like crazy big words and is trying to like trick people. He's just like breaking it down very simply. And then through his meditation practices, he's showing you how to release the spinal fluid up to the brain, and to unlock the I forget if it's left brain, right brain. I think the left brain, left hand is creativity, so it's the right brain is the creative. The creative. So it's instead of, because most of the time we're in the left brain logical, and he teaches you how to unlock the right brain. And once you unlock the right brain with that, and you tap into the pineal gland, that's when your body can literally change the structure. You know, like that's how he explains it. And
I have to check this guy out. I've been told to look at his stuff 3 times. You're the 3rd person, so that's usually the sign. So I hear it 3 times.
Right.
So time for me to go check it out.
Right. And I'm so excited to dive into his book. And he has all these wow, this is like a Joe Dispenza friggin' promotion. So I'm totally gonna go to one of his like live events, and he does like weekends and week longs and stuff like that, and that's where he gets all the people that have that come up on stage and tell their experience of what they've gone through and how they've, you know, gotten over cancer. And it's not just cancer, like it's people that go there in a wheelchair and wind up walking and leaving the conference, and people that go there blind and can see again, people that go there deaf and can hear again. It's like it's really, it's magic with a K at the end. Like it's that incredible, like people don't realize that we're so much more than like what meets the eye. Like there's so much more to us, like the pineal gland.
Not to nerd out here, but that quote from Yoda: "We are not this crude matter. Luminous beings are we."
Yoda is like, literally, Yoda is the perfect version of what like a higher power like could be. You know what I mean? Like the way he teaches it, or maybe a guru is a better way to put it. You know. But there's so many, and then of course, you know, you add on the way he talks, and you know, it's just like, it's so cool to, and Star Wars and this is why it hits so close to home for so many people, because the things that are taught, the Force is literally just the energy around us.
Yeah.
it can translate directly into our everyday lives. And that's why that, and like
the energy is real.
Yeah, like everything is the best way it was described to me, it was, oh, this is crazy. When I was in Florida, this is when I was in rehab, this is 7.5 years ago. I'm in Florida on the beach, and yeah, because there was a freaking beaches and whatever. It was awesome. And it's the best experience of my life, changed my life forever. The only reason why I'm talking to you right now. And we're on the beach on like our off day, with the techs and stuff. And this like woman comes walking up, and she's like, she's the definition of like, someone would call her a hippie. I think she was literally like a spirit that came down to like talk to us, because the stuff she was saying was blowing my mind. And the way she explained it is that we are all made up of atoms, right? And atoms are protons, neutrons, and electrons. But what holds them together is energy.
Yeah.
And the protons, neutrons, and electrons are all going crazy like this and going all over the place. And then you start to meditate, and then you start to get the electrons all going in sync. But right. The protons, neutrons, and electrons are all tiny little specks. What an atom is mostly is energy. So we are mostly energy. And I can tell from firsthand experience, like when I meditate, I can literally feel the like how that the protons, neutrons, electrons, like when I can't feel it, that's when I feel like they're going crazy. And when I come back to the breath, and then after, like that they in Eastern medicine, they talk about like the aura around us. I can feel it coming off of me. Like I can't quite see it yet. I might have to do some dimethyltryptamine to really see it and stuff. But I know I can feel it, and even in my vision gets more like precise. Like it's almost like I come out of it and I have high definition, especially. I noticed it. I've noticed it before, but I finally like made the connection, like, oh, this is because this is happening. When I meditate outside and I, with my eyes closed, of course, look directly at the sun, when I come back and I feel that's when I have the highest definition vision possible. And I think it has like, obviously I don't know exactly what it has to do with, but I know that when I meditate and I close my eyes, only, everybody listening, only with my eyes closed do I stare directly at the sun, not with my eyes open do I come back, and literally like colors are more vivid. Like everything is more defined. It's so beautiful. And like, so I think
there's energy around us. That's not debatable anymore. I think the only thing Star Wars does is say, okay, we can just manipulate this energy with our hands and our thoughts, which is not possible as far as we've achieved so far. We have machines that can do that. But yeah, Star Wars. I used to call my my clinic teacher when I was in clinic chiropractic college Yoda, and I was like Luke Skywalker. I even had like a picture like hanging above my desk, like it said like the chiropractor's name above Yoda and my name above Luke. The other reason I connected with Star Wars and related to chiropractic college was, chiropractors, we're small, man. Like we're trying to work way in the mainstream. We're always being kicked to the curb. We're the rebels. We're the rebellion. We're rebelling against the evil empire of, and it's not just medical doctors are fine. It's the system, right? Like medical doctors are good people. It's the system, right? It's the system that's keeping these people unhealthy. And that was also inspiration for me of what we're fighting against as well.
Absolutely. In every movie ever, the rebels are the good guys, and the people that are trying to tell you what to do are the bad guys. And I wish people realize that.
Yep. The people burning the books are never the good ones.
Right? Like, just open your eyes. All right. Anyway, so let's get back to. I really want to get back to like how what's like the best the coolest transformation that you've seen someone coming into your office with like the like, is there anything that comes to mind with someone? Obviously you can't, not going to talk about their names and stuff, but
Yeah.
like, what's the coolest transformation, the most relief? Has anyone ever like broken down in tears and like,
yeah. I mean, just recently, I mean, you can look at our Google reviews. There's people telling stories in there about how like their life's changed and they used to wake up in pain, crying every day, and now they're not. But one particular patient comes to mind. He was, I think, about, like late 30s, early 40s, just had 2 kids, married. He's doing fine, but he's got a lot of stress in his life. And for I think like 2.5 years, he was having terrible Crohn's disease. Like he was getting imaging, and his gut was just like inflamed to high hell. Like he just like, it was running his life. He was in like 9 out of 10 pain every day. In addition to that, he had terrible back pain, which is, luckily he had back pain because that allowed him to come to us and gave him the avenue eventually where we're getting to. But yeah, he was highly inflamed, highly stressed. His low back was a mess. Multiple subluxation in his lumbar spine. His pelvic was locked up. His sacrum was all twisted. And basically all the nerves in his low back just were on fire and inflamed. And the nervous system was locked. It was interfered with. It wasn't working right. So we did 2 things with him. We put him on an adjustment schedule for, I think, about 3 months. And we got him on a good omega-3 supplement and brought the inflammation down. Within like 3 months, I think it was only 2.5, 3 months, like he couldn't believe it. He said he woke up, was pinching himself every day, couldn't believe that this was actually working for him. He never thought that going to he just came to us for his back pain, right? Like he never thought that this would actually heal his intestines, and it did. Now, again, like I said at the beginning, I'm not saying I healed this guy's gut or I treated this guy's ulcerative colitis. All I did was remove the interference from the nervous system and allow the body to heal itself.
And there's a reason why like the placebo effect is in every friggin' study. Like the body can heal itself. That's what Joe Dispenza talks about. He's
right.
That's like the biggest thing, that it's like we're capable of incredible feats, like just because like the proof is in every medical study ever in history. There has to be a controlled placebo. Like
right. Yeah. So, maybe the greatest achievement to come from any research, the accumulation of research from all these years, the greatest achievement is the discovery of the placebo effect.
Like it's so freaking cool. Like there's the proof right there when anyone says like I can't and fill in the blank. Like you absolutely can, and it's accounted for in every study that no matter what drug is given to you, the body can produce it on its own, or something to replace that, or that gives you the same effect,
or turn the body on to reproduce a natural production of it. Yeah.
And it makes, to me, someone who is, deep into my meditation journey and deep into, my, how much I've done acupuncture and deep tissue work and stuff like that. And my experience with my ACL, which is a whole nother thing too. Like I was experiencing a lot of pain in my knee, but I knew it wasn't the actual knee. Like there's no inflammation, and it just felt like every muscle around it was just pulling on it. So everything was so tight. And so I have a great buddy of mine. I have this dude. I don't want to say he's 300 pounds because that might offend him, but he's up there. And he is an incredible massage therapist, JK Smooth on Instagram. There's like 4 people in my life that have impacted my life like in an immense amount, in such a way that like I didn't know it was, you never really know when these people are going to come into your life, right? But the change is so great and life changing. Like that guy with you, that you talked about fixing his spine, and then and it fixed all his, you know, gut issues and stuff too, or could have contributed to then fixing the gut, right? And so this guy has helped me so much with my back. It was before I ever did acupuncture. Like, what was helping me was getting massages to, you know, release, you know, what you talked about, how when there's a subluxation, it creates inflammation, and your body wants to freaking, you know, get support there, so it tightens the muscles and all that stuff. Like, that literally, I know that's what's happening right now, because the first thing that I did was deep tissue work, and I got some relief. But after, you know, a week or so of doing that, and really probably like the next time I squatted, like it went back, you know, and but you know, that is nothing to say about what his work helped me get that relief, and now getting to the knee. So I knew it wasn't that there was anything wrong with the joint. I knew my freaking ACL is, my right leg is stronger than ever. You know, the proof is in, you know, going from, you know, from ACL surgery to setting a New Jersey state record for WMPF at 165
numbers to back it up that you've never been
at. Like it's clearly stronger, but there's been a lot of pain there. And so I went on his table and I was like, look, you always work on my back, but I need to see what's up with my leg. And dude, he starts working on my quad, and I'm like, holy crap. And he's like, have you ever gotten work done on your quads before? I'm like, nope, this is the first time. Like, and I grew up playing hockey. I grew up playing every sport, but like hockey, you just and then powerlifting, just crushing my legs. And so he's working on my legs, on the IT band, you know, on my quad, all that, hamstrings. And then this is the part that like changed it for me. And it's the spot that I know to go to when I'm having knee pain with my own gun. So I know the anterior tibialis is responsible for what's called shin splints in most people's mind. It's the anterior tibialis is pulling on the shin, creating that tight pain. But what was happening was my posterior tibialis was pulling all the way up to my freaking patella in that area. And when he dug his finger in there, you know, when you find that friggin' spot and it hurts like a bitch, but you gotta keep working on it. Like, and I'm sitting there or laying there, like virtually in tears, just trying, just breathing, just like letting him go to town on it. And when I got up off that table, like I hugged this man. I was like, oh my God, like my leg. And very similar to when I get off the acupuncture table, like I feel high as a kite after a massage. Like it's friggin'
So the thing with the knee is the knee is a pretty simple joint, right? Like I talked about it earlier, it's like the elbow. All it does is just hinge, right? It doesn't really do much else than that. So oftentimes a knee problem is an upstream like effect from a downstream issue at the ankle or the calf, like we mentioned, or the shin, like the tibialis anterior, posterior, or just the downstream effect of an upstream problem, like dysfunction of the hip, dysfunction of the lumbar spine, dysfunction of the sacrum, dysfunction of the quad muscles. So and the knee is the where it all collides. That's where all the fibers cross from the knees and the calves. It's like Grand Central Station for all these different fibers. So if you have a knee problem and you just like zoom in on the knee and ignore above it and below it, you're going to miss the cause.
Absolutely, man. And I can tell, I was able to tell it, like just from looking at it too, you can tell it's not like it was inflamed or anything like that. And like I still had fine range of motion and everything. And it wasn't, especially once I put the knee sleeves on, like all that warmth, the knee sleeves, it got to a point right before I saw him that I was warming up, like on the recumbent bike with my knee sleeves on, because I wanted that relief, because I just wanted that heat and that warmth in my knee. Right. But when I knew it wasn't, the inflammation and stuff, because the swelling after surgery, that's where all my pain was. It wasn't the freaking actual, because when I was laying there, it was perfectly fine directly after ACL surgery. It was when I would get up to go to the bathroom and I would go from my leg like this to it like this, and all the blood would rush to my knee and it would just
right. Naturally. Yeah.
So I knew it wasn't anything like that, and I knew there was nothing wrong with my leg. So when he hit that spot, he was like, oh yeah, he's like, this has to be the issue, and he just dug it out, and now I can feel some tightness in it every now and then, because what I'm doing, and
Yeah, right.
so now I've got my gun, and before a workout and throughout the day, sometimes I'll just take it and just hit my freaking quad, my IT band, and my anterior and posterior tibialis and my calf.
Under control, yeah.
It feels all right. So
yeah,
I'm really grateful for that, man, and with the help he's given me, and I really want to. I'm really excited to come see you, because this is I temporary relief is great, but addressing the issue.
That's the other thing that I want to talk about too with chiropractic, because as I alluded to earlier with you, we're a corrective care facility here. So there's two types of chiropractors. There's like the therapeutic, who are great, man. They keep people out of pain, and anything that keeps people away from drugs and surgery, sign me up.
Yeah.
But then there's the corrective care of chiropractic, which we'll get into now. Is after we do the exam and we palpate and we get a feel for where your subluxations are and do some different tests, we find out which bones are restricted, which bones aren't. The next step is to take some x-rays and to actually, it just makes sense, because if you go to the mechanic with a car issue, right, and you tell him, yeah, this motor's making this like noise, I don't know what's going on, he's not just going to say, oh yeah, it's this, and then charge you $500. What's he going to do? He's going to pop the hood open and look inside the damn vehicle, right? So that's what we got to do as chiropractors. We got to pop the damn hood open, take the x-rays, look inside their spine, see what's going on, so we can actually find out which way that bone is sitting, so we can therefore then correct it. And the other aspect with this is we could do all the adjustments we want, but if we're not also working on correcting the postural deficits and putting you through a functional movement screen and seeing where you're limited, is it ankle dorsiflexion? Is your hamstring not flexible enough? Is your overhead squat dysfunctional? Is your overhead reach? What is it that's going on? There's a lot of different aspects we have to take into it. So we do a lot more here than just what I'll call as pop and pray, as what the therapeutic chiropractors do, which is just, they do the adjustment, it feels great, but they're kind of just praying that it's the right thing if they don't really have x-rays.
See, that I love that you guys use the FMS, the functional movement screen. That is when I first started working at this old it was a fitness and wellness center, so it wasn't just like a training facility, and I backed the what the product that they sold was, and I eventually became assistant manager. But one of my favorite things in the process that you get when you signed up was a 2-part assessment with a trainer. And the first part is they're going to talk to you, just go over like all the stuff that you're past, what you've done, how you got to this point, how you're sleeping, your nutrition, all that stuff. And then that second part of that is they take them through a functional movement screen, like the FMS, I guess, certified, exactly what you guys do. And that's how I found out that this way my range of motion almost touch, but this way right. And I've never really like addressed it, but that's another thing that you'll see when you take me through that, and be able to see what's up. I also know my overhead squat is not as, I'm not going to be Olympic lifting anytime soon with that overhead squat that I have. That's for sure.
But here's the goal. We're not shooting for perfection. We're shooting for symmetry.
Yeah.
And at least an adequate baseline.
Yeah. Yeah. And
We're not trying to make everybody like not everybody coming here is playing for the Eagles. You know what I mean? Some people are just trying to get by. So we're not shooting for perfection. With you, I mean, we're going to try and get as perfect as possible, because obviously you're pushing your body to the limits on a daily basis. So
yeah, like that. It's the same thing. Like when I told my physical therapist after ACL surgery, I was like, look, I'm not some like older person that is coming to you to just be able to like walk again. Like I want to go back to playing football. Like I want to go back to powerlifting. Like I want to compete at a national level. Like
right.
And when he told me that he did his residency at University of Alabama when Adrian Peterson tore his ACL and did that, I was like, all right, let's go. Let's get after it. And him combined with my, like I was going to him twice a week and seeing my was it twice a week? Yeah, I think I was going to him twice a week and then seeing my personal trainer twice a week. And my personal trainer, I mean, everybody, you know, that has come on this, has watched this podcast knows who he is, because he's been on here 4 times already. His name's Sean Nixon. He does the Bridge podcast, and he's someone that is deeply changed. I cried on the last podcast he was on, like expressing my gratitude for that man. And
trainer can change your life, man. I mean, when I had my back injury, I was going to the chiropractor 3 days a week and doing the personal training, and that's really what initially led me down like my exercise physiology. When I studied at Westchester, I wanted to be a personal trainer. I ended up changing about halfway through because I felt like I had, you know, more capability, which is a wrong thing to think. I had the wrong kind of career path in my head as a personal trainer. I thought I was going to have to be like Richard Simmons doing like workout videos. And I was like, I don't want to be doing that. I should do something else. So I was confused then, not that it didn't work out, but yeah, that a personal trainer can absolutely change your life. Like it sounds like it did for you.
Yeah. And his experience with, you know, addressing the nutrition to really, you know, there's been a lot of things in my life that have it's like the pebble in the shoe, right? It's never the boulder in front of you that throws you off. It's the pebble in the shoe. And like you can get by with the pebble in your shoe, but like if you get it out, like it's just way better like than having the pebble in your shoe. And things,
you're a much better person.
Yeah, like things like asthma, eczema, lactose intolerance, like kind of gluten intolerance, and just it's hard to explain to someone what a discomfort like eczema is, because it's just like you have an itch and you scratch it, right? Like, and then it's fine, right? Like, but like
doing that like over and over and over and over and over.
And the more you scratch it, yes, while you're scratching it, it feels amazing, but then you're just spreading it, and then it gets itchier, and then, you know, what gets me, and people like, this is, you know, part of you never know what someone has experienced, right? Like, so when people see me like talking shit on doctors, you know, that's a nice way to put it, on this stuff. It's because my whole life they told me, you have asthma, here's your inhaler. You have eczema, here's this cream and this cream and this cream and this steroid and this and all this stuff. And
that's how they're trained, unfortunately.
Yeah. And like you said, they're not bad people. It's just the system. It's a broken system. It's, what is the symptom? Here's a drug that masks the symptom, not cures it. Here's a drug that masks the symptom, and I get X amount for prescribing that drug. And that also in turn does help that person, you know, mask the symptom, which is why they came. Right. So like, it's not,
which is why, because these medical doctors are good people and they see their patients get, you know, temporary relief. They think, okay, I'm doing a good thing here. So that's why the system perpetuates itself.
Yeah. And it's whenever I talk to people about, you know, mental health issues, because that also stems from nutrition, and if you're going to a doctor. Well, oh, this is it right here. Like when you go to a doctor, they don't say, what are you eating? How's your sleep? But when you take your pet to a veterinarian, the first thing they ask you is, what are they eating? How much are they exercising? Like, how much are you going on walk? Like,
right.
Come on. Like,
an animal. Like, we're animals too.
Yeah.
We're the same way. Yeah. So it's a shame. It's a shame, man. It really is.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so grateful to have met Sean, who opened my eyes to, like, no, you're not born with asthma. Asthma is a dis-ease in the body. It's a result of a dis-ease in the body, which could stem from your poor gut bacteria or poor gut health, and resetting your gut and going on a protocol and an elimination diet and figuring out what is triggering these things can actually get rid of it. Like,
yeah,
no, I was never told that by a doctor.
Right. There's so many other people out there who will never hear that message, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it's like, to that point, every single person that I know that has asthma, when I tell them my experience with that, they're like, you can get rid of asthma? Like, not one person has been like, oh yeah, I know it's just a result of my diet, but I just kept eating and I don't care. And I'm like, no one ever has that response. It's always like, they don't know.
They have the option to get rid of it, they're going to obviously explore that option, but they don't know there's an option.
Yeah, exactly. And to the point of about the doctors, when you also, the thing is, like, when I asked my doctor, when I went in there the last time, I said to him, I was like, look, like, because I had I've had 3 really bad allergic reactions to some food that I haven't quite put my finger on, but excuse me. But I had, I broke out in hives. It's so weird. It's like on all my joints in my body. They come like elbow, all that, you would see the bubbles, the hives, all like nasty, and like the most way worse than any just like eczema that I had on my body. And so it happened 3 times. And the 3rd time that I went to him, I was like, look, I'm talking to Sean. I'm talking to him about doing an elimination diet instead of taking these steroids and stuff, and instead of this inhaler, and I'm like, I never really asked you what like the long-term side effects are to like to the steroid and the inhaler, and he's like, well, if you don't know the side effects, then they probably won't happen, right? Like, he didn't say that exact thing, but what he meant was, he's like, look, like, yes, there's side effects, but like, you need to breathe right now, right? You need to get rid of this right now. So like, yes, he's like, to his credit, he said the elimination diet and figuring that out, like, it could work, but that's going to take months.
Yeah.
It's not like right now your body is covered in hives and you are struggling to breathe. Right now we do need to give you the steroid, and like, you can address that later.
Right. There's time and place, for sure.
But and so, like, to his credit, he did have an understanding of that, but it was that confirmation that, like, I had to bring that up. Like, that was never going to be brought up to me. Right.
Let me ask you a question. So, do you actually have compression fractures in your thoracic spine? Have you been diagnosed with that?
No, I've never had an X-ray.
Okay. So, how long were you taking steroids?
No, it was it's not
corticosteroids. I know it's not.
Yeah, it's
like,
not testosterone.
Yeah, no. Like, no, steroids for the asthma.
Yeah. Oh.
How long?
I was 6 years old. For 5 years old was the first time that I started taking the pills. instead, because when you're that young, they don't give you the inhaler.
Mhm.
They just give you pills. And I was taking a pill. I think it was every day until I was like 12 or 13. And that's when they switched me over to the inhaler, and then inhaler until 3-4 months after COVID.
Wow. Okay. So
So that's 20,
back in your personal
24
history
years,
here.
24 years.
Yeah. So that's what you would call chronic use.
Yeah.
So that the problems in your thoracic spine were probably made worse by the squatting form we talked about. But one of the side effects of chronic corticosteroid usage is a risk for bone fractures and bone compressions, and it weakens the bone structures, and that could be a complicating factor in your case history there for your thoracic spine. Don't know if you thought about that yet, but that's definitely, that contributes absolutely as well.
See, and if he had told me that side effect, I probably would have freaked out. And because I had no idea about that possible side effect. And but also in defense of it might not have with me, just because like I never broke a bone. I never, you know what I mean? So like,
right. It's tough to say, but I'm just saying it's possible, and it's been known. That's all you could say. I mean, to say anything for sure, it's hard. I mean, I would need a crystal ball.
Yeah, right.
The equivalent of one, which none of us have. So
yeah, the only thing that I can say to your point is that most of my injuries have been ligaments. I have torn my ACL, I've torn my UCL in my left arm. And right now I'm dealing with something in my shoulder that happened from benching. I wonder if you've ever heard that before. Something with your shoulder from benching.
Classic.
So I
mean, I'd be safe to, if I had a bet, I would say it would affect that as well.
Yeah. That's what it's the same tissue stuff. It's all freaking skeletal tissue, right? Or muscular tissue. I don't freaking know.
Muscular skeletal. Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's been a wild journey, and things like freaking kombucha and taking raw egg shots that I know 99.9% of the people in the world think it's bad for you, and it's going to give you terrible salmonella and all that, and but there's good bacteria in that. It's just as simple as that. Like, those are things that help the gut. Like, I'm not going to tell everyone to go and start doing raw egg shots, because right now, first thing they need to do is start only buying free range and cage free eggs.
Yeah, start there. Yeah.
Like that, like, if you're getting factory farmed eggs, like, yeah, you probably are going to get some, like, just because there's so much other stuff that's in it already. And but the eggs that I'm like, it's so funny. Like, you take a factory farmed egg and a cage free egg, and you crack them in the same pan. The factory farmed one is that like yellow that people are used to seeing. And the cage free one is like this beautiful, like, orange. And you're just like, there's so many more nutrients in that thing, right? You can just tell, like,
your eyes tell you.
Yeah. Like, it's beautiful. It's freaking beautiful. And so that's the first thing that I would say. I would also say, like, I'm not a doctor, and I only can tell you from my experience that the raw eggs have not hurt me. They've helped me. And my buddy asked me, he's like, I don't know how you do it. And this came from a quote, actually, watching a Rogan podcast. And I usually only quote like his guests, which are doctors and things like that. And but he said something when he was talking to Ron White, because I love the podcasts when, like, I love the ones that are really educational and stuff, when I have doctors on, psychologists, and
Right.
people that are there to promote a book, and they're brilliant. But I also love the podcast when it's just a couple comedians hanging
two
out and
guys, yeah.
bullshitting, man.
Yeah.
It's freaking, and him and Ron White, it was such a good podcast. And but one thing that he said, Ron White was like, yeah, whatever makes my life easier. Like because he's an older guy, and he's like, I just want to golf, do stand up, and that's it. And like, and Rogan was like, that's interesting, because like I've found out that the path of most resistance is where I've gotten, this is paraphrasing, is where I've gotten the most growth, right? Like when I do things that are hard, it makes things that are in life that most people consider hard easier. Yeah. And I was thinking about this because my buddy asked me.
That's why you do hard things.
Yeah. And this is what my buddy asked me. I'm looking on my phone because this is what I typed up in response to him. He was asking me, or he said to me, like, I don't know how you do the raw egg shots. And like, needed that. With the raw, yeah. So I'm dragging this on, but the raw egg shots, he's like, I don't know how you do it, man. And my response to him was, a different way of saying that.
Rogan said, you're right.
What he said, and where the more I voluntarily do hard things in my life, the easier the involuntary hard things in life become. And that's
great. That's amazing. That is true across the board. I don't see how it couldn't be.
Like these things, like all the things in my life that I choose to do that are tough to do are things that make my life better, my health better. Like people's like things like meal prepping and eating healthy most of the time. Like I'm not going to sit here. I can tell you on Sunday, I went to my buddy's house, who I haven't seen I haven't hung out at his house. We play flag football every Sunday, but I haven't been to his house and like hung out with him in a long time. And you know what we freaking got? We got pizza, and it was a meat lovers pizza, and we got wings, and I enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
And then you know what I've done the rest of this, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week?
On the plan.
I freaking grass-fed beef, sweet potatoes, bananas, apples, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, chicken, and raw egg shots. Yeah. And kombucha and yerba and my mushroom supplements, and then of course magnesium, zinc, and beef liver. Like clockwork. And I think my body needed that, because this week I've actually felt slimmer after I know my body composition is changing because my weight is staying the same, but I can feel slimmer, and it's always the bottom part, like the bottom two abs, where I can feel where there's, how like the calipers with the body fat percentage, like it's like me, I can just tell by looking at it, like it's more, there's more muscle there instead of the fat. And
definitely
there is a science behind that cheat meal that The Rock does and stuff
there is. It's more than just compliance, it's more than just like you need a dietary break every now and then just for your mental state. Yeah, that's part of it for sure for a lot of people, but there's also some like hardcore, strictly physiological benefits that come along with it as well.
Yeah. And so I'm grateful that I've been able to find the answers that I needed to help these little things in my life. And like,
but back to your point was, you do the hard things throughout the week, getting back on your diet, because it makes it, like when it actually comes down to it, makes the hard things you don't want to do easier. But it doesn't mean you're doing hard things only all the time, because you still have the ability to enjoy a pizza on a Sunday every now and then.
Yeah, dude, goddamn right. It's like, and so now I've been dealing with this issue in my back, and Very grateful for the acupuncture and the massage therapist and how much help they've given me. But like, there's still a nagging issue. And now you've literally explained to me what I'm feeling. Like, so now I can like picture it in my head. And now like I have another mode of action with you in my life to actually like get some more relief from this pebble in my shoe. That's been, that's been bugging me.
Right. Right. And most people, you know, they like, I used to work up in my hometown, very blue collar. Most people there like didn't go to the doctor until they were like a day away from death, essentially. So like most people didn't come to me until like they were totally freaking shot. Like I would see their x-rays and I would look at them like, how the hell did you walk in the door just now? But it's better now that I'm in the city in Philadelphia. Like people tend to be a little more educated, right? So for better or worse, a better part of that is that they're more willing to be proactive with their health. So they get a little ahead of it, so they act on it when it's still just a pebble in the shoe and not a boulder or a broken bridge in front of them.
Yeah, and especially, you know, in a city also, like you're going to have a more liberal mindset, which actually, you know, despite how I think but like I thought I was liberal, but I don't know. But most of the time, you're going to have a more liberal person is more open to Eastern medicine type of things and yoga and meditation, things like this. And
so like I said, it's for better or worse, because a good thing about working back up there was, you know, you gave them recommendations. They're pretty much going to follow it as long as like you were trustworthy and you had a good reputation, right? Here, people are more educated. So the good part of that is what I said, they're going to be more proactive. But the bad part of it could be that, you know, they have a more critical mindset. So they're going to listen to every single word you say, and they're going to question it, and they're going to do their own research. So you need to really be able to break it down, explain it to them, and show them the results before they're not just going to like take what you say and say, okay, doc, I'll do whatever you say. They're going to be a little more critical. So for better or worse, it's not either. It's just different.
And the cool part about what you do and your ability to explain it so clearly, like I know when I go and do research on you know on chiro, like it's gonna just confirm what you're talking about. And because there's also Dr. Brad Campbell or Brian Campbell he's on Instagram. He's had, you know, his account blocked and changed and all this stuff, but like what he is a chiropractor, and I think he also uses acupuncture, like it's a combination. But what I was getting at, what was I getting at with that? So all the things you were talking about, how those other issues that are in the body stem from or could stem from subluxations in certain areas of the spine. And so like I already had like some understanding of that. And just from going to the acupuncturist, the craziest thing the acupuncturist ever did to me. So I was talking to him and I was like, I don't know why, but like every time I'm laying down on your table, face down, and you know, because it's like just like a massage table where it's got the circle you put your face in, and I was like, every time I do it, my left nostril gets clogged and I can only breathe through my right. And so that was in, you know, before the session. And then I'm always, you know, I always have, you know, my hands like this or they're hanging down. And this time he puts a freaking pin in each elbow. And I'm like, that's different. He's usually just on my back. And then like 5 minutes in, I'm breathing and I'm breathing and I'm breathing. And I'm like, oh shit, my nose didn't get clogged up. And I was like, did he just do some wizard shit with my arms and like some kind of blockage that was like something and so then after after I got up and he removed all the needles and I go into his office to to pay and like talk a little bit. I'm like, so those things you put in my arms. He's like, was that for my nose? He was like, yep. I was like, oh man. So like it was cool to go from Dr. Brad Campbell explaining that to then me experiencing it and then having my own friend that I know that's a doctor and he and you explaining it and just confirm like all these beautiful things that come together to
that's cool, man.
So that I know that what the hell you're talking about. You know what I mean? It's so cool, man. And so what would you say? I know check what time it is. All right, yeah, I know we probably gotta get going soon. But with your experience as a chiropractor and what would you say has been like the most, I don't want to just say rewarding part of it, because I can kind of probably take a guess in that, just the fact that people heal and stuff, but I get what would you say is like the biggest benefit that you've personally gotten from leading this path?
So I could definitely answer that. That's a good question. So I remember very specifically, like I was almost going to graduate, right? And I'm texting my friend. He's very intellectual. This guy, he graduated from Richmond, a valedictorian, 4.0 GPA. He had like a multi-six-figure offer to go work on Wall Street, like right out of college. He said, no, I want to go play poker. So he plays poker full time. This guy is just like a genius. But I remember I was texting him and I'm telling him like all these things are like coming together and like how like I'm just like so invested in what I'm doing and like how like I'm getting more joy out of this and like any like physical pleasure, any like romantic endeavor, anything else I could think of, like this has given me the most sense of achievement so far. And he goes, yeah, so you're hitting the point of self-actualization, which is a tremendous benefit to me, where basically all things are aligning properly. So there's actually this quote, I tweeted it a few days ago, from Jim Collins. He's the author of the book Good to Great. And basically what he's describing is self-actualization, this process of having a career and having a life worth living brings you to this point where you just can't achieve unless your life doesn't have meaningful work, essentially. So chiropractic has been great to me, not anything to do with how chiropractic works or what like the science behind it is. It's just the fact that it's brought me self-actualization. That's been the biggest benefit to me, for sure.
Get chills, man. Like that's amazing.
So I want to actually read that full quote, because I can't read it without getting chills, like you said.
And it's so true. While you're looking that up, it's so true. Like finding the things that come together. It's like what you love, your purpose, and so it's like a couple different things. And you and Sean, my trainer that does the Bridge podcast, and John, who I just had on, you guys would have great conversations, because that's like what they're all about.
Yeah, because that's what the Bridge, I think you told me on my last podcast, is everything's connected at the Bridge. Yeah. So here's a quote. So when all these pieces come together, not only does your work move towards greatness, but so does your life. For in the end, it is impossible to have a great life unless it is a meaningful life. And it is very difficult to have a meaningful life without meaningful work. Perhaps then You might gain that rare tranquility that comes from knowing you've had a hand in creating something of intrinsic excellence that makes a contribution. Indeed, you might even gain the deepest of all satisfactions, knowing that your short time here on this earth has been well spent and that it mattered. And that's what I've gained through chiropractic.
And that is the best possible way I can think to end this podcast. Dr. Brian May, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the Free Yourself podcast. I cannot wait to have you back and talk more about this.
Definitely.
Infinitely grateful, man. You just explained what is going on in my freaking back, and I'm excited to work with you to remove this pebble from my freaking shoe, man.
Let's get it out, man.
Hell yeah. So one more time, tell people how they can get a hold of you.
So you can listen to the Doc May Diet podcast on podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud. Also follow me at Doc May Diet on Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, and one more thing, I want everyone you need to follow this man on Instagram, most importantly, for one simple reason. The quizzes that you have are my favorite, dude. I get so pumped when I'm scrolling through stories and I'm like, oh, and because I do have it. Like, I like to think I'm educated when it comes to nutrition and stuff, but like you blow my mind with so many of those questions.
And the unique thing about you is you actually like when you're wrong. See, I've had
because I learned
because you want to learn, right?
Yeah.
So many people, I've talked about this before, I'll get into it, but so many people just want to have their views validated. That's what they're seeking. They're not seeking knowledge, they're seeking validation. And so many people have told me they actually stopped doing my quizzes because they were too hard and they hated getting questions wrong because those people aren't trying to learn. And I get a lot of people who ask me questions. You might get this too, actually, but do you ever have somebody ask you a question like, is this okay if I do this? Like, what about this? And you're like, well, it's not really the best, but you could do it if you want. And then they're like, well, it's better than, like they ask you, like, is it okay if I like have a donut every now and then? I'm like, yeah, sure. As long as like in the context of a good diet, right? Like as long as everything's matched up. They're like, well, it's better than having 10 donuts. I'm like, yeah, of course. They're just seeking validation for their behavior. They just want me to co-sign on their bullshit. And I call those people assholes. They're just asking a question in a very asshole way. They just want to validate their already like pre-existing bullshit.
Dude, it's so true because we'll wrap this up, that with every question about health, there's always it depends.
Yeah. Yes. And that's how there's this guy I like on Instagram, Lane Norton. He like rips people apart. He's very critical, but he says the mark of a true expert is you hear them say it depends a lot.
It's so true, man. And I learned that from Sean and John, like with all this stuff. So Brian, I'm gonna hit you up very soon. I will be in. I'm in Philly half the week now. Thursday to Sunday. I have an apartment in Fishtown now, so we're gonna get this pebble out of my friggin' shoe. I'm so excited, man. Nothing but blessings and success your way. I love you, brother, so much.
You, always a great time.
Absolutely, man. To everyone that tuned in and watched and hung around the whole time. Until next time, peace, love, unity, and respect.
Love it.
Out. I love you, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you too, man.